Julie Delpy, whoever this actress is. I'm pretty sure I've probably seen her in a couple movies, shows, and whatnot. I don't know who she necessarily is. I'd probably have to do a little bit more research on her after I see this clip. But I've seen this clip. I'm just saying. Listen to what she says. She is going to be the embodiment of just tone deaf and just the embodiment of particularly Caucasian feminists. They literally say whatever they want. They'll say things and they just go unchecked by the average white male. You see, when black feminists say certain things, because I just if you're a black feminist, you're an idiot in my opinion. But when black women say certain things, they will get pushed back by the men that they're ignoring in the first place. But there will be pushback because they're not part of the dominant society in the first place. So if a black woman says certain things, she's going to get some pushback, whether it be positive or negative. A lot of Caucasian women will say things. They will just say things, and or how about this? Because like you'll have like black women will say things in public, but the dominant society just doesn't take it seriously enough, so they just won't entertain it a lot of times. But here you'll have a lot of white feminists. What happens with the white feminists? They'll go unchecked, and then on top of that, they'll be able to influence legislation to satisfy their delusion. You know what I mean? So that's the danger of dealing with Caucasian feminists. So right here, let's take a listen to Julie Delpy. Oh man, that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. I didn't even have the sound on. There we go. Julie Delpy, everybody, with her logic.
Nothing worse than being a woman in this business. I sometimes wish I was African American, because I think at least people don't bash them afterwards when they say something about a reality, which is very hard for a woman to open it. I think even hard. I think it's probably the hardest to be a woman because feminists is probably something that people hate above all. Nothing worse than being a woman in this business. I sometimes.
Now these two men, I think I know this. I think that's he's a very famous male actor. Him, I kind of know him, so I don't know what I don't know. I'm blanking on their names, but their reaction is actually most of the general public's reaction, because especially with Julie Delpy, she is French, if I'm not mistaken. She is a French actress, but this is why I say if you are a feminist and if you are a black woman and you're still on that feminism stuff, you are an idiot. Look at what she said. Look, in the top comment says it right here. Wait until she finds out about black women. This is look at what she said. And this is why I'm like, black women, how are you a feminist? If you look at the early suffrage movements, you see the women marching. I would always say when I was a kid, I'd be like, where the black women at in these pictures? And like I said, white feminists, they only use black people really in general, but they use black women as pawns and free tokens. And or as people like to say, the conservative party uses black people as tokens, but I'll be looking at the feminists. They literally use any type of marginalized group. They use their plight as a political football so they can be able to run their play action, if you know what I'm saying. So they can run their play fake so they can get what they want. So here she is talking about it is so hard to be a woman in this business, but I wish I was just African American so I could just say what I want. I'm like, so black women don't count as women? I mean, what the fuck? That's what I'll be saying, because I'll hear black women say certain feminist rhetoric, and I'd be like, you do know that movement was not about you guys, even when you look at it in its proper context, where when you're looking at the feminist movement, it was a lot. What people don't realize, it was mostly spearheaded by not only people talked about upper middle class white women, but also in conjunction with those upper class, middle class, upper class white women. It was in conjunction spearheaded by the few lesbianist women, right? So those were the women that, because if you say on an attractive scale, if you were at least a 4 and above, it would be a man out there. He'll try to take care of you, take you out of working, blah, blah, blah. But if you were like a 4 and above, 4 and below, and you were struggling in the dating market to find a mate, you had to really, you was out there with the rest of the dudes working, and they really needed a job because they couldn't find no dudes to take care of them. So this is what people don't understand. So you had like the privileged upper middle class white women leading this charge, along with women that weren't desirable enough to be taken care of, in cahoots to to uh uh to get quote unquote rights. And then on top of that, when you're dealing with those girls that were like a 4 or 3 below, they needed work, they needed a job, but that was very few women that actually needed it like that. You know what I mean? It's very few, very, very few. So then, if now let's take black women into the equation. So you had white feminists fighting to work, fighting to work. Now, black women have always had to work for the most part. They've never, most black women in the history of America haven't had an opportunity to like not work. It's very few black women that have had I'll say I'll say the privilege of just being stay at home mother, meaning they could just focus on being a stay at home mother. Very few, very few. And this is why I don't understand how the feminism and the feminists were able to hijack the minds of black women. But I digress, you know. But I want you to pay attention to what she says again.
I just wish I was African American, because I think at least.
So I'll say this. So the way she just excludes black women from being a woman, which is interesting. Well, that's part of, in France, unfortunately, it's still very let me see. I think I would have sworn somebody said she's French. Let me just do the research. Yeah, French American actress and screenwriter. So here's the thing. People don't understand though about like France is still very racist. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. I never used to think that too until I did the research. Oh, don't tell me. And she has a husband and she young. Anyway, but yeah, France is still very racist. It's still very, believe it or not. I did once you do, if you do the research behind France and how they do things, even the a lot, I will say a lot of the common French citizens, even though it's like heavily immigrated, like so many immigrants go to France, but France is very, France has a serious history of racism. So you only like some black people will even tell you, they'll literally tell you that, like they'll be like white, they'll ask, why can't I work here or whatever, and and they'll literally tell them it's because you're black and we don't think you can you don't have the intellectual capacity to work here, blah blah blah. They'll tell you this, so she might be cut from that cloth. So this might not be really an American feminist type idea that she's coming at. So to be fair, she might not be coming off that. She might be coming off that that French angle. You know what I mean? Where she thinks that black people are more privileged than her. Now, let me also address this. White women in America, particularly in America, are the most privileged beings walking this planet Earth right now. And I'll say that again. White women in America are easily, I'm talking about, it's not even close, the most privileged being. White men have written in so much legislation to help white women out, or been influenced to help white women out. So much so it has it's backfired on white men, to where now you have white women talking about why are the white men are so demotivated, like unmotivated and whatnot. And I'm just like, they've literally helped you put up there just for the white women that are now having these positions of power to look down on the men that lifted them up. That I'm talking about, there's a lot of white dudes that did dirt to help white women be at the place where they at, and just for them to literally look back at those dudes and act like they ain't shit. It's crazy. That's demoralizing. That's demoralizing. Now, for Julie Delpy to talk about the struggle of being a woman in Hollywood, that sorry, you're sadly mistaken, because really, if it was on some real ish, you wouldn't have had no job, because you already passed the age limit. I mean, she's still an actress. They said she's still an actress, right? And how old is she? She's 54. She's 54. This is a 54-year-old woman that still has a a career in Hollywood somehow. I mean, if for you to still even have a place in where you can still do things, you're a very very privileged being, very very privileged being. But I hope somebody said, "Oh yes, black people famously don't get bashed or criticized." Ay yay. But like I said, so somebody said, "Ah, yes, black women are so elevated in their home country of France." So she might be coming off. She might be on that type of time because she is French. Like she's from France. So she might be on that kind of time, if you know what I'm saying. So, but it's just interesting what she had to say. Somebody said Kieran Culkin rethinking his life. He just wants to sink in his chair. But here's the thing, and I'll leave it off like this. It's a lot of Caucasian feminists that will say these things, and but they'll have like nobody will tell them that they're wrong, or really women will say goofy things in 2024, and I mean you can tell that nobody in their life has ever said, "Yo, you sound like an idiot." I'm talking about really in their face, or just said it in public, because like it'll be like a dude will come in with a bald cut, right, a haircut, and everybody will have something to say. Just a man will have a style, just a style, and he'll have all types of feedback, but a woman will do something and she'll get only positive reinforcement or positive feedback, whether she loses weight, whether she gains weight, whether she gets pregnant, whether she's philosophizing, right? She's saying her theory. Most women, particularly today's women, they only get positive reinforcement, positive feedback. So they'll say goofy things like this in public and they don't even realize what she's saying. It sounds crazy. But yeah, anyway. Oh yeah, and I hope the so-called black feminists, I hope you're watching this. She don't even consider you as people, bruh. Damn, that's cold.